The film begins with a young woman being forcibly dragged into a swimming pool by an evil entity. At one point, her eyes change color and she is permanently dragged into the water. The film shifts 3 months later to New York City. A woman named Sarah is on a road trip. In the next scene, we meet a sweet couple, Lindsay and Will. She has to leave for a business trip and says goodbye to her boyfriend, while Kate, their neighbor, goes to work. Later that day, Sarah finally arrives in Miami and meets her childhood best friend, Will. He accommodates her in a motel room and asks her to meet up later. Lindsay arrives at the airport and calls Will to say goodbye once again. In the process, her nose starts to bleed, but she doesn't pay too much attention to it. Later, Sarah meets up with Will, and he invites her to a barbecue. In reality, Will has invited Sarah to Miami to help her get over the deaths of her family members following a tragic event. Will shows her his new mask collections and informs her that Lindsay has begun reading some weird books. That evening, at a small neighborhood gathering around the pool, Sarah meets Zach, a despicable Playboy model, Kate, a tender-hearted nurse, and Alex, a taciturn and anxious young man with an emo appearance covered in tattoos. Alex, who is clearly an outcast, at one point takes Sarah aside to warn her that she is in danger and should leave the party and return to New York. The girl is puzzled, but ignores his advice. The others say he has just gone crazy and ignore him. The group continues to have fun until Will has to leave for work for the night shift. Sarah's left alone with Zach, and an awkward moment follows in which he tries to seduce her. After a few failed attempts, he leaves, and Sarah's left alone to swim. At one point, she goes to the bottom of the pool and feels pressure in the chest area. She immediately gets out of the pool and realizes that she has a nosebleed. She goes back to her room and hears sudden noises from outside. She goes to check and finds nothing bizarre, but when she's about to return, a plant falls, startling her. She returns inside and takes a sip of water, then her body convulses, and she ends up at the bottom of the pool again. When she gets out of the pool, she meets Kate, who looks at her worriedly. Sarah tells her what happened, but Kate says that fatigue and alcohol could be the causes. Sarah goes to sleep, but the horrible image of drowning in the pool haunts her in her sleep. She wakes up and goes to the bathroom to wash her face, but then suddenly wakes up again in the pool, suffocating and unable to get up, as if controlled by an evil power. In the process, Alex watches her worriedly, refusing to help her. In the next scene, Sarah wakes up in the apartment, wet and terrified. She goes outside and runs into Alex, who calms her down and invites her into his room. After Sarah tells him what happened, Alex reveals that a girl went missing 2 months ago, and the police have yet to locate her. But he saw with his own eyes that she drowned in the pool, and her body has not been found. Alex did not talk to the police because, first of all, no one would believe him, and then he would become the #1 suspect. Alex advises her to find a safe place and tell Will everything. Later, Sarah goes to another motel and sends a message to Will, asking him to come see her as soon as possible. In the meantime, Alex calls his stepfather and asks to visit him to make a business proposal. Sarah calls Kate and tells her everything that has happened. Kate suspects that Sarah is taking recreational drugs because they swim in those pools every day and have not noticed anything bizarre. Nevertheless, Kate promises her that she will stay with her tonight. Meanwhile, Alex's stepfather arrives and arrogantly asks what business he wants to talk about. Alex suggests he look in the pool and then pushes him in. As the man begins to bleed, Alex blames him for his mother's death, emphasizing that he was only using her for money. At one point, the man is drawn to the bottom of the pool by a sinister force. His body disappears, and Alex picks up his clothes. Sarah suddenly wakes up after having a nightmare, and Kate tries to calm her down. The next day, Will arrives in Sarah's motel room. In the meantime, Zach is bathing in the pool and teases Alex while he looks at him menacingly. In Sarah's room, Will feels a sudden stomach ache, and his nose begins to bleed. Sarah thinks this is a sign, at which point Will reveals that his girlfriend Lindsay has been trying to contact the spirits to talk to her deceased mother. Most likely, Lindsay has made a mistake, and the pool, along with the entire complex, is now haunted. Initially, Kate and Will suggest that Sarah return to New York, but she states that now everyone is in danger and they must find answers. So they decide to split up, with Kate and Sarah going to talk to a medium while Will does an internet search. Kate and Sarah find the medium, who asks for payment in advance. Sarah sits inside and the seance begins. The medium sees the same thing Sarah saw and realizes that there is a supernatural entity in the pool. The medium gets frightened and says she cannot help them, but she confirms that they are in danger. When Sarah tells this to Kate, the latter thinks that she just tricked them and that there is nothing supernatural going on. Later, Will talks to Lindsay and reveals that he invited Sarah to Miami. His girlfriend tells him worriedly that this was not a good idea. Also, Will shows her the diary and asks why she did not tell him about the girl who died in the pool. Lindsay confirms that there is a supernatural entity in the pool and reveals that she is in Greece to resolve the matter. Sarah calls Will and tells him that the medium has confirmed the existence of something sinister in the pool. At that point, even Kate, who was previously in disbelief, now thinks that everything may be true. The action shifts to Alex and Zach, who are arguing over some nonsense. Soon after, Will arrives at the complex and asks Zach to cancel the party. He tells him that there is something dangerous in the pool, but Zach claims that Sarah is just paranoid. Zach has no intention of canceling the party, and Will tells him that he will be responsible if anything happens. Sarah returns to the motel room and researches Lindsay's mystery book, while Will continues to wander the internet looking for answers. One day, Kate meets Alex and asks if he knows anything about the pool, and he invites her to his room this evening. In the meantime, Lindsay informs Will that she's going to a monastery and will call him later to give him new information. Stressed, Will goes outside to get some air. He meets Alex and tries to talk to him, but the latter refuses to interact with Will. Soon after, Lindsay calls him back and says she is looking for a well. 800 years ago, monks captured a supernatural entity in a lake and locked it in a well. But now, the entity is broken free and must be locked up again. Lindsay and the cameraman wander around the monastery courtyard as they hear bizarre noises. Later, they find the door and enter the monastery. Eerie scenes follow in which the spirits of dead monks and other frightening sounds appear. Soon after, Lindsay finally finds the well, and they realize that there is no water inside. Therefore, they cannot trap the evil spirit again. Suddenly, while Lindsay is holding the camera, her friend is kidnapped by someone. The girl tries to escape, but then her nose starts bleeding and the color of her eyes change. The video call cuts off, and Will bursts into tears. Soon after, Sarah calls him, and Will reveals that the evil spirit has killed his girlfriend. Meanwhile, Zach's friends are having fun at the party like there's no tomorrow. At the same time, Will begins to convulse and spits water out of his mouth, as if he is drowning. His eyes change color, indicating that he has been possessed and killed by the demon. That evening, Kate arrives home and notices bloodstains on her dress. Sarah calls her and updates her on the situation. Concerned, Kate goes to check on Will, but the door is locked. Sarah calls her back and warns her to stay away from Zach, as he is connected with the demon. In fact, it is only Zach who always brings people to the pool, feeding them to the demon. In the process, Zach slowly approaches her from behind, and the scene is interrupted. Sarah lies down on the bed as the water, in the shape of a snake, approaches her, stands up, and soon after she sees the demon right in front of her, she suddenly wakes up at the bottom of the pool and starts screaming for help. She tries to move, but the demon doesn't let her go. Soon after, we see Zach carrying her to his room. Alex sees the scene and goes to take a look at Sarah. He then knocks on the door and tells Zach that he needs to talk to Sarah. Zach insults him, and then a fight breaks out between the two. Alex ends up being brutally beaten, and Zach goes back inside. Later that night, Sarah wakes up and Alex knocks on the window. Alex promises to help her and asks to follow him. Sarah tries to leave the house while Zach sleeps in the living room. Alex takes her to the apartment of the stepfather he killed. Sarah goes into the bathroom and starts spitting blood. She wants to use water but is afraid. When she comes out of the bathroom, Alex confesses that he is here to find out why the demon failed to kill her, threatening her with a knife. Alex takes her into the bathroom and ties her hands. He sets a timer, after which Sarah will be doused with water, and he returns to the pool. Nevertheless, nothing happens, and he quickly returns to Sarah but finds that she has freed herself. She suddenly hits him in the head, knocking him unconscious. Alex wakes up tied to the bed, and Sarah starts beating him with a bat. Alex then reveals that he knows how to stop the demon. He's convinced that the one who is connected to the demon has a mark on his body, and it is Zach himself. At that point, Sarah asks him why he did not kill Zach himself, but Alex reveals that he would die as well. The only one who can kill Zach and stay alive is the one who did not drown in the pool, namely Sarah. Subsequently, Sarah orders him to undress to make sure that he doesn't have the sign, proving his connection with the demon. After making sure that Alex is clean, they head to the complex to end the story. They initially look for Will to inform him of the situation, but Alex discovers his wet clothes, which means he's been captured by the demon. They decide to go to Kate, but discover that she has ended up like Will. Finally, they decide to go to Zach to kill him and stop the demon. Sarah enters Zach's apartment and finds him in the bedroom. She prepares to stab him, but he suddenly wakes up and grabs her hand. Zach starts to abuse her, but Sarah manages to grab the knife again and kills him. Later, she starts looking for the mark on his body, but does not find it. She then goes outside to look for Alex and reveals to him that Zach doesn't have the mark. Shocked, Alex goes to check, but finds that Zach's body is missing. He thinks that it is all over, but a sinister force pushes him violently against the wall. Soon after, the demon in the flesh arrives, revealing that it is Kate herself. She cannot understand why she was unable to kill Sarah, but she plans to do so now. The demon drags Sarah into the pool and throws her in. Every time Sarah tries to get out of the water, the demon pushes her back in. The demon enters the water and with telekinesis, moves Sarah from one side of the pool to the other. As Sarah is about to drown, Alex stabs the demon in the back, drawing her attention. She grabs Alex by the neck and is about to kill him, but Sarah throws the knife into her heart, killing her for good. Alex and Sarah come out of the water and embrace, glad that everything is over. But Alex is suddenly possessed. His eyes change color, and the film ends. Please make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.